Hello, my friends. I hope you're having an awesome day. My name is Ezra Anderson, and today we're going to create a cute giraffe character in Affinity Designer. Today's tutorial is a lot of fun. I think you guys are really going to like it. We'll start off by making the giraffe's head, which we can do by using the rounded rectangle tool. So just select that and then click and drag to make a rounded rectangle. Then with the orange handle, we'll bring it in to make the rounded rectangle even more round. And then we'll give it a light orange fill. Then we'll make the snout of the giraffe with the ellipse tool. For our giraffe, we want a wide ellipse instead of a circle because a wide ellipse will give the appearance of cute chubby cheeks for our giraffe. Now I'll press V for the move tool and resize both of these shapes. I'm also going to make his head a little more orange. Next, we'll make his nose by using the ellipse tool. In this case, we do want a perfect circle, so hold down Shift while clicking and dragging. And we're going to give his nose a brown fill. Then I'll press V for the move tool and reposition his nose. And so we can see it, I'll bring this ellipse to the top of our layers. Then I'll duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J and move the other nostril a little bit to the right. Then I'll select both of them and put them in the center of his head. Now we'll give him a smile by using the donut tool. We can find the donut tool by clicking and holding on the triangle tool and then select donut tool. Then while holding down Shift, click and drag to make a donut, and then by clicking and dragging on these orange handles, we'll specify its angle. Then we can use this orange handle to make it thinner. Then we can rotate it up here at the top by using this circle, and hold down Shift to keep our rotation in 15-degree increments. Then we'll just reposition the mouth. Now we'll give him some eyes, which we can do by selecting the ellipse tool, and while holding down Shift, we'll click and drag to make a circle, and then give it a dark blue fill. Now I'll press V for the move tool, and reposition the circle. Then we'll duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J, and bring the other eye over to the right. Next, we'll give our giraffe some ears. We'll select the main part of his head, and then duplicate it, and then shrink the duplicate copy. I'll also rotate it, and then position it on his head. We'll duplicate this rounded rectangle again, but now when we duplicate the rounded rectangle, it applies all of the same changes that we made to our first duplicate copy. This is a feature known as power duplicate. In this case, we don't want that to happen, so I'm going to delete this duplicate copy, and then select the ear again. Now because we've clicked off of this shape, no power duplicate features will be applied, so we can duplicate it normally by pressing Command or Control J. Then we'll shrink this part of the ear, and give it the same color as the snout by using our color picker up here. Just click and drag to select the color, and then apply it to our rounded rectangle by pressing on this circle. Then I'll make this a little bit longer, and while holding down Shift, I'll click on the other rounded rectangle, and then put them in a group by pressing Command or Control G. Then I'll send this group to the back. To make his other ear, we'll duplicate this group, and then flip it horizontally. Then we'll just bring it over to the right side. If your shapes aren't snapping, make sure that you have snapping turned on up here. Next, we'll make the giraffe's antenna. We'll do this by selecting the rectangle tool and making a rectangle, and give it the same color as the nostrils. Then we'll put a circle on top of the rectangle. Now we can select both of these and put them inside of a group, and then resize and reposition it with the move tool. You can duplicate it by pressing Command or Control J, and then bring the duplicate copy over to the other side. Now we can zoom out to see how our giraffe head is looking, and if it's looking good, you can select all of these shapes, and then put them inside of a group. I'll make the head a little bit smaller, and now we'll make his body by making another rounded rectangle. And just as before, we'll make it even more rounded, and then reposition it. We'll also give the body the same color as his head. Then we can just use the rectangle tool to make a neck. We just need to make sure this rectangle layer is beneath the head layer. I'll press V for the Move tool, and then resize and reposition both of these shapes. Just make sure that the giraffe's neck and body line up down here. When you're satisfied with how the neck and body are looking, we're going to merge them into one shape by selecting both of them and then using the Add Boolean operation. Then we'll put this shape beneath the head. We'll also make sure that the neck is centered with the head. Now we'll give the giraffe's body a few spots by using the ellipse tool. For the spots, we're going to use the same color as the mouth up here. To duplicate the spots, we'll press V for the Move tool, and then while holding down Alt or Option, you can click and drag on this circle to duplicate it. Duplicate the circle a few more times, and then resize and position them. To make sure all of the giraffe spots stay inside of his body, we're going to make all of these circles child layers to the body layer. To do this, we'll come to the Layers panel, and then we just need to click and drag on the circle and put it down and to the right of the body. Now that circle will only be visible wherever the body is visible. If you want to learn more about child layers, you can check out our complete beginner's guide to Affinity Designer in the video description. We cover all of the most important tools and features of this program so that you can make beautiful art. For now though, I'm going to select the rest of the circles and then make them all child layers by dragging them down into the right of the giraffe's body. Now you can see the spots are only visible where the giraffe's body and neck are. Next, we'll make the legs and feet for our giraffe. To do this, we'll get the rectangle tool and make a rectangle. And then to make the foot, we'll select the ellipse tool, and while holding down Shift, we'll click and drag to make a circle. Then we'll just reposition it. And we'll cut off half of this circle by using the rectangle tool. And then after making a rectangle, we can select the rectangle and circle and use the subtract Boolean operation. Then we'll make this half circle the same color as his snout. Then I'll press V for the Move tool and reposition the half circle. Now I'll select both of these and then press Command or Control G to put them in a group and make it a little bit smaller. And I'll also make his leg a little bit bigger. To select just the rectangle inside of the group, you can double click. Now I'll position his leg underneath the body. And right now the leg is looking a little small, so I'm going to select the body and head and then make them smaller. Now I'll hold down Alt or Option and click and drag to duplicate this leg. And then I'll select both of the legs and duplicate them by pressing Command or Control J. Then I'll move these duplicate copies a little bit to the left and make them a darker color to show that they will be behind the other legs. And of course, we do need to actually put them behind the other legs by sending them to the back. I don't like how there's this small gap in between the legs, so I'm going to select one of the legs behind the giraffe and then move it slightly to the right by holding down Shift and clicking on the right arrow key on my keyboard. Then I'll do the same for the other leg. That looks much better. Now let's work on making the giraffe's tail. For the tail, we'll use another rounded rectangle. And we'll make it extra rounded, and then resize and position it. We'll also want to send it to the back. To see the entire document, we can press Command or Control 0, and you can see that our giraffe is really coming along. Let's select all of these layers and reposition them. And now we'll add some grass for the giraffe to be standing on and eating. Once again, we'll use a rounded rectangle. and make it extra rounded, but this time we'll make it green. Now we'll resize and position it, and send it to the back. I'll make mine a little bit lighter shade of green, and then make some tall grass by using extra rounded rectangles. And finally, we'll put some grass in the giraffe's mouth so he can have some food. I'll just duplicate one of these rounded rectangles and make it a little bit thicker. Then while holding down Alt or Option, I'll click and drag to duplicate it and rotate this copy of it. Then I'll line them up at the top, maybe rotate it a little bit more, and then I can select both of them and merge them together by using the add Boolean operation. Then I'll make it a little bit smaller and put it in the giraffe's mouth. And then we'll want to put this layer on the top, which we can do by pressing on this button here. Now I'll just make it a little bit smaller and then rotate it a little bit. Now we'll divide this grass in the giraffe's mouth. Before we use a divide operation though, we want to select the mouth and duplicate it. Remember, to select a layer inside of a group, you can double click. Then we'll duplicate the mouth and hold down Shift to select the mouth and the grass. Then we'll use the divide Boolean operation up here. Now that we've divided these shapes, we can delete the segments that we no longer need. I'll select this part of the grass and then delete it. And I'll also select this part and delete it as well. Now to see our entire document, we can press Command or Control 0. Then we can select everything and resize and reposition it. And that is how you make a cute giraffe in Affinity Designer. Thanks for watching, my friends, and I'll see you in the next Affinity Revolution tutorial.